You ever get that feeling that there's just more to reality than what you can see and touch? Well, what if I told you there's this kind of hidden map, a blueprint for human consciousness that charts this incredible journey from being, trapped in the material world all the way to aligning with pure light? Okay, let's get into it. I mean, for a lot of us, right, the default setting is if you can't see it, touch it, measure it, it's not real. Simple as that. But this ancient framework we're going to explore today, it suggests that's just the starting line. So let's begin right there in a place that feels pretty familiar to all of us. Yeah, this is the ground floor. It's solid, it's familiar, and it feels totally sealed off from anything else. It's a reality that's basically defined by its own four walls.
So, this whole journey kicks off with what's called the commanding soul. And the name says it all, really. This is the stage where our most basic, our most raw and powerful drives, they're the ones calling all the shots. So, at this stage, the world is just a giant machine, and we're just complicated biological parts inside of it. Survival, power, getting what you want. Those feel like the only things that are actually real. This whole worldview is often called one-eyed. And for good reason. It sees the physical world with perfect clarity, but it's completely blind to any other dimension.
But here's the thing about a sealed-off reality. It can't last forever. Eventually, something happens. A question pops up, or a feeling you can't shake. A moral conflict bubbles up from inside, and for the very first time, that solid worldview starts to get some cracks.
And that's what leads us to stage 2, this self-accusing soul. All that certainty from stage 1, gone. And in its place is this new, really uncomfortable internal conflict.
The central tension here is just fascinating, isn't it? Think about it. The commanding soul has absolutely no room for things like guilt or conscience. So if we're all just biological machines, why in the world do we feel that inner critic nagging at us when we do something wrong? That single question, it's what starts to shatter the whole materialist view.
And this visual really captures that change perfectly. We go from that heavy, sealed-off stone cube of stage 1 to something that's, well, it's fundamentally fractured. And for the very first time, light, the light of conscience, starts to seep through those cracks. So the really crucial shift here is from a kind of blind certainty to the state of constant questioning. Stage 1 is stable, sure, but it's ignorant. Stage 2 is more aware, but it's totally unstable. You've basically lost the comfort of that old illusion, but you haven't found a new source of peace to replace it. You're just stuck in the middle. Now, through these new cracks in reality, something else starts to get in. And it's not a logical argument or some new theory. It's something much more direct, something you feel. And this brings us to the stage of the inspired soul. At this stage, you get these moments of profound insight, or creativity, or just moral clarity that seem to come out of absolutely nowhere. It's kind of like you're tuning into a radio station that's playing the most beautiful music, but the signal keeps fading in and out. You feel the truth, you know it's there, but it's just not stable yet. So, after all that chaos, the worldview fracturing, these flashes of inspiration, the journey starts moving toward a new kind of stability. And it's not about going back to that old, blind certainty. No, this is about finding a much more integrated sense of order. And all of this builds up to what is arguably the most critical stage of the entire journey, the tranquil soul. This right here is the turning point. This is where the war between the material world and the spiritual world finally ends. They reconcile. The world isn't a meaningless machine anymore, and it's not a chaotic battleground either. It's an ordered, meaningful place. Now, this doesn't mean suffering just stops, but it's no longer seen as absurd or random. It has a purpose. And trust. Trust starts to replace anxiety. And this stage is so important, it's called the axis point. It's the central pivot for the whole journey. It's the bridge that connects the lower, ego-driven self with the higher, more aligned self. And honestly, for a lot of people, for many great sages, this state of deep balance and peace, this is the destination. This is the goal. But the journey doesn't have to stop at balance. For some, the path keeps going, moving beyond the self, from inner peace to a profound liberation from the ego itself. So the next step on this path is the content soul, and it's really defined by one incredibly powerful idea: radical acceptance.
This is the point where the soul just stops bargaining with fate. It accepts whatever comes, not with resignation, but with genuine contentment and gratitude. And the visual metaphor here is just perfect. That cube, which was once so heavy and stuck to the ground, now levitates. It's become free from its attachment to how things should be. So, from accepting reality, the journey takes another step, to being accepted by it. This is the stage of the accepted soul, and it's all about the self finally getting out of its own way.
The huge transformation here is that the ego no longer claims credit for its actions. The whole mindset shifts from I do this to it is done through me. The self becomes a kind of vessel, allowing action to flow through it. And our cube metaphor evolves one last time. It actually dissolves into structured light, its hard edges and boundaries just disappearing. Okay, so as we get to the final stage, we come to an insight that completely reframes the entire journey we've just talked about. This is the key, the thing that unlocks the meaning of all the previous stages.
Just look at this progression for a second. The whole journey, it's about liberating our perception of reality itself. It starts out trapped in matter, then it fractures under moral weight, finds a new balance, and then aligns with a will that's bigger than its own, until finally, reality unveils its true nature. And this is the ultimate revelation. The soul does not gain reality as it ascends. It loses distortion. The whole journey isn't about adding something new. It's about removing the distortions, chipping away at all the illusions until what was always there can finally be seen clearly. So that solid material cube from stage 1, it was never a lie. It was just an incomplete picture. And that leaves us with a really personal question, doesn't it? Where are you on this map right now? And what might it look like to let that next crack of light in?